Amandla is gay, right? So this was not a situation where a straight woman was just kind of saying something slick and homophobic to a lesbian reviewer. It was quite literally two queer women having a ha ha he he. So there's this movie that just came out called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I went to go see it with my partner. We largely went to go see it because of the song in the trailer, which is kind of a silly reason to go watch a movie, but you know, here we are. And it's basically a movie about a group of girls who are all friends who plan a hurricane party at a mansion in the middle of nowhere that's owned by Pete Davidson's character's parents. And Pete Davidson is basically just like playing himself in this film. The movie is about them playing this game called Bodies, 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 where they have to fake kill each other and they have to figure out who is the murderer. And apparently someone takes the game a bit too seriously and people start dying. That's not exactly what happens, but I won't spoil the film for you. The movie was okay. I thought it was a fun little romp. I thought it was a fun little jaunt, you know. It's not a movie I'm going to watch again, let's put it that way. It's not a movie that I'm personally going to come back to. It was a fun little jaunt, okay? Lena Wilson, who is a critic for the New York Times, decided to write an article sharing her thoughts about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And it was a pretty scathing article, and frankly, I really did agree with quite a bit of it. One of the biggest things that she says is that the film lacked bite, and I tend to agree with her there. There is a twist at the very, 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 very end that recontextualizes the entire film, and, you know, I enjoyed the twist, but it's one of those twists that kind of leaves you like, oh. Do you know what I mean? Not like, wow, or, you know, it's just like oh, all right. So I kind of agreed pretty much with Lena Wilson about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. However, one point that I disagreed with her on was her description of the movie as a long, drawn-out advertisement for cleavage. That, for me, was one of those criticisms that kind of stood out because it was very much not the case. This movie is one where the girls are predominantly dressed like this. There's no nudity in it. It's not an over-sexual film. It stars Amandla Stenberg, who is in a lesbian relationship, and in similar types of movies like this, they definitely could have gone a certain direction with it, right? They could have made it very sexual. There's definitely some sexual tension between her partner and another character. Like, it could definitely have gone a certain way, but in my opinion, it really wasn't. So I did not really agree with Lena's perspective on the film, at least with that point. And Amandla did not agree either and decided to DM her. And Lena would go on to make a video where she shared these DMs on TikTok. And we're going to take a look at that video right now.
Hi, haven't been on here in a while, but I was just checking my Instagram DMs because a really lovely, kind person informed me via those DMs that Jennifer's Body is playing in 35mm at the Roxy this weekend. If you're in New York, you should absolutely go to that. There are a disgusting amount of tickets left. But I looked at my DM requests and found this, which I'm just going to let speak for itself for a little bit.
So she says in the DM, let me pause it. She says, your review was great. Maybe if you had gotten your eyes off my tits, you could have watched the movie. I'm sorry. So when I first read the DM, I cracked the fuck up, okay? But Lena very obviously did not have the same reaction, as you'll see.
For context, if you haven't seen, I reviewed Bodies, Bodies, Bodies for the New York Times and really didn't like it and said so. Ironically praised the acting, though. I don't want anything else to come of this. I am devastated to have received this message in the first place. I was a genuine, huge fan of hers. But I'm posting it because I don't want this person who has more social power than me to think that it's fucking okay to do something like this. And that's all.
Okay, I don't want to sound insensitive or whatever, but little bit of a dramatic reaction. Honestly. So a lot of people correctly called this out for what it was, right? This was A very clear example of a white woman saying something very, very harshly. And then when the black person they're being harsh towards responds, suddenly they're devastated. Suddenly it is the worst thing that's ever happened, right? Suddenly, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did this. I can't believe she utilized her social power over me, right? And I kind of get it to some degree. Sometimes getting a message from a very large account can seem really scary, but Amandla sent a private message where she was making a joke about her criticism of the movie, which is frankly very, 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 very misplaced. Lena would go on to describe the actions of Amandla as homophobic, right? She would go onto Twitter and start talking about how she was being attacked for being a woman who's attracted to women, right? Like, you know, maybe if you stop looking at my tits so much, da-da-da-da. But Amandla is queer, right? Amandla identifies as gay. From my memory, identifies as non-binary, like, goes by she, they pronouns, right? Amandla is gay as fuck, right? So this was not a situation where a straight woman was just kind of saying something slick and homophobic to a lesbian reviewer. It was quite literally two queer women having a ha-ha he-he. I saw one video in my feed that was like, I can't believe Lena Wilson came out as being bad about reacting to flirtation or something, you know, that could be perceived as a come on, because, you know, Lena, you wrote about her boobs. She messaged you and said, maybe if you'd stopped looking at my boobs, you could have enjoyed the movie. Her review is one that is pretty harsh. You wouldn't assume that the kind of person who would write that review wouldn't take a joke. So I wanted to play for you guys Amandla's response to this, because she definitely was pretty confused by Lena's response.
The intention of why I said that, and this is my experience as an actress. It's quite surprising. I mean, it shouldn't be surprising, I guess, at this point, but the amount of commentary that I receive on my boobs is so extreme. And this has happened since I was a teenager. I could literally be wearing a t-shirt, and just because of the size of my boobs, there will be some sort of sexualization or commentary on my chest. In this movie, I'm wearing a tank top, and I know that when I'm wearing a tank top, the result is there's going to be some cleavage because I have boobs. So I knew that this comment was probably mostly directed towards me, and I think that Lena was trying to make a commentary about A24 sexualizing me, sexualizing my body, exploiting young women in order to sensationalize them, to make their media more popular. Which I understand the angle. I can tell you that I wore this tank top in this movie because me and the costume designer thought that it fit the character well. And so, you know, I do get tired of people talking about my chest. It seems to be in Hollywood, it's not normalized to have boobs that are above an A or a B cup. Like, I've actually noticed this in my time as an actress. And so there seems to be a lot of unwarranted conversation around my chest.
Again, this is what she's criticizing, right? She's basically criticizing this tank top that Amandla's wearing, essentially. And it's, I don't know, maybe I'm desensitized. I mean, I am the sort of person who wears bras as tops, but like, I didn't even notice it. I didn't even notice her boobs personally, right? My boyfriend, who loves boobs, didn't even notice the boobs, right? So, I don't know. To me, it felt like a really, really, really misplaced thing. And see, the problem with this sort of stuff, right, is once you start doing shit like this, people look deeper into you. And as it turns out, Lena Wilson has said quite a few questionable things. And I guess we'll just go through a few of them now. Apparently, Lena Wilson has written quite a few articles essentially complaining about some of her ideas being associated with gender critical ideology. She apparently has some opinions and perspectives that she sees as ones that need to be beholden or kept safe. And a lot of what she's written suggests that the presence of transgender people within these conversations is disruptive, right? So it seems like she might be a TERF, right? There was also another user who came out and said that she used to be part of a Facebook group where she would regularly be transphobic and talk about trans mask folks as though they were confused lesbians, right? It's just, it's just a lot. There's also apparently conversation around some of her other takes, specifically takes that relate to sexualizing children's movies. Apparently she described Luca as Call Me By Your Name for kids, which is problematic because, again, haven't seen this other movie either, but apparently Call Me By Your Name is about like an older man who has a relationship with a young boy. Cringe. But anyway, long story short, people have been digging shit up. She's not been able to handle a lot of the criticism, ironically, and has decided to shut down her social media. Now, like I said, I can understand what it feels like to have a larger person reach out to you. I get that can be on its own quite scary, but when you really think about the fact that Amandla reached out in private. This was not a situation where Amandla went and like called her out publicly and said this and this and that about blah, 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 blah. Literally just sent her a joke privately. And her reaction to that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person is using their social power over me. I'm devastated by this, da 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 da. And literally all she was doing was making a joke with her as a queer woman about her boobs, which she criticized, right? Something like a joke sent by the person she was overtly criticizing should not have caused her to be, oh my God, so devastated. I think sometimes people need to embrace the fact that if you choose to be critical about people and things on the internet, you're probably going to have people respond to it, right? Especially if you put your face and your name on it, right? You're gonna have people who have a reaction. I try to remind myself all the time that I don't get to just post stuff into the ether and have no one respond to it. I don't get to just share my ideas and have no one respond or react to it. It's clear to me that Lena hasn't really processed that, but hopefully this is a lesson for her. Hopefully she can move forward. You can't have a scathing criticism of someone and then be offended by a joke that they sent to you in your DMs. I'm sorry. It's a little much.